Hi! Hello everybody, Michael here and welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video, we are back at the Strasburg Railroad. And you may be wondering, Michael, weren't we just at the Strasburg Railroad riding the regular train they give out? And you're right, we were just there, literally just a couple of weeks ago. But you see, today, we're not riding the regular train, oh no, we are riding on something much more special than that. So I'm gonna get off the rails and explain to you a little bit more. This is
Thomas lives at a big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome.
Quite so, today we are going on a 30-minute ride of nostalgia on Thomas the Tank Engine. This afternoon we will go over everything there is to go over in this wonderful event, in addition to a full overview of the entire excursion. There will be busting buffers, cinders and ashes, fireboxes on fire.
His firebox was on fire. Bruh.
Even a little bit of confusion and delay. So get your tickets and all aboard for a big No, I am not referencing Big World Big Adventures. That is an atrocity to Thomas's very name.
Hello?
Sorry about that. Anyway, rest back, ease upon, and enjoy as we go for a full day out on everyone's favorite number 1. Okay, enough of the establishing shots, let us waste no more time into getting straight into it. Now, we arrived at the station around 12:15, a whole 3 hours before our ride on Thomas at 3:45. Although it is recommended that you arrive at the usual 1 hour before departure. We just arrived a lot earlier to get a bunch of cool shots of Thomas doing the switching operation. Anyway, let us skip right forward to our ride. Thomas arrived back to the station at around 3:25, and after coming to a complete stop, he expeditiously began the switching operation. For the next 10 minutes, Thomas stopped just beyond the eastward pedestrian crossing to pose with some pictures, along with the option to also take pictures with Mavis, who's really just number 8618 with a faceplate and a couple of words slapped on. Anyway, while we wait for Thomas to finish taking pictures, we decided to go meet the Fat Controller himself, Sir Topham Hatt, who was actually mostly very chill. Not causing confusion and delay, am I? Like I said, he was mostly chill. But now, without further ado, it is finally time for us to board our train. And as you can see, the platform was packed, almost as packed as the subway in Japan. Once enough people filtered in, we were finally able to board. As you can see, this time around, we decided to go in the open-air car at the very front of the train. Now, in the last video I made about Strasburg, I did actually say that the open-air cars were a better bang for your buck. However, up to that point, I'd never once ridden in the open-air cars, until now. But anyway, let's review the seat. And as expected, comfort is not prioritized. And the legroom is fine, depending on who you're sitting with, but you do have the option to switch the seats so they wouldn't be facing each other, which I once again forgot to record. Now that Thomas is done taking pictures, it is finally time for him to resume the switching operation. Now that Thomas has gone over the switch, it is time for him to couple up. And let me tell you, bro could not couple up to the train if his life depended on it. Thomas, buddy, come on, I thought you were supposed to be good at switching.
Thomas felt terrible.
Anyway, after a couple more failed attempts, he finally managed to couple up to the train. And you know what that means? It is time for us to pull away, and despite all the setbacks, he still somehow managed to leave the station exactly on time at 3:46. After yelling express coming through at number 475 giving up the regular train rides today, we were finally underway on the main line. But now, as you already might know, we are going to talk a little bit more about the history of Thomas's character, as well as the Thomas which is currently pulling us. It all starts with this guy, Reverend W. Audrey, who was born on June 15th, 1911 in Amphill, United Kingdom. And he grew to love trains at a very young age, especially when his family moved to Wiltshire in 1916, where their house was within walking distance of the Great Western's main line. His father would always take him on walks along the railway, where Audrey would regularly get to see the beauty of the iron horse steaming up and down the line. He would always fall asleep to the sound of locomotives steaming down the track, and to him, the rhythmic pumping of their pistons seemed almost as if the locomotives were talking amongst each other. You see where this is going? Skip ahead to the 1940s when Audrey had his own son. It was the height of World War II and everything was scarce for families all across England. He would always tell stories to his son Christopher about talking railway engines and the shenanigans they got up to working for a magical railroad on the island of Sodor. Audrey would then make small toys of the characters in these stories for his son Christopher out of all kinds of scraps he found laying around. And his son loved these stories so much that it inspired Audrey to make his own children's book about them. He published it in 1945 as the first book in the Railway series. Now the second book he published is arguably more influential because it finally introduced us to everyone's favorite Thomas the Tank Engine, who was actually based off a picture Audrey had with an LB and SCR E2 class 060 shunter locomotive. And from that point on, he would have a schedule of making a brand new book to add to the series every year. He would publish his final book in October of 1972 after writing a total of 26 novels. Skipping to 1984 when Audrey decided to create his very own kids TV show based on the Railway series, utilizing model trains and a narrator to tell the stories of his characters. And the show would go on to be greatly successful, producing a total of 24 seasons across 37 years containing 584 episodes, as well as 14 full-length feature films and millions sold in merchandise. Unfortunately, it was by this time that Audrey was beginning to grow in years. He sadly passed away on March 21st, 1997, aged 85, leaving his son Christopher to carry on the legacy of Thomas. Christopher would then go on to write another 16 books for the Railway series from 1983 to 2011. Anyway, on a more positive note, the TV series kept on going strong, especially with Britt Allcraft releasing the first ever Thomas movie, that being Thomas and the Magic Railroad in 2000. A movie that just so happens to feature Strasburg number 475 as the locomotive for Shining Time. And the Thomas that is currently pulling us was actually built originally for use in that movie, but we'll get to that a bit later. Moving ahead to 2009 when the series made a complete switch to full CGI, finally getting rid of all the models. And the fandom took the switch a bit starkly, but they eventually warmed up to it.
I don't know what eventually means, but it sounds very, very long.
But it was at this point when the series slowly started to die. The past 7 seasons at this time were all made up mostly of episodes using the 3 strikes formula, making almost all the 140 episodes from this time frame feel like the same episode over and over and over again. But this would all thankfully change in 2013 when Mattel bought the franchise and brought on Andrew Brenner as the main scriptwriter for the show, thus bringing forth ah yes, the Brenner era. I can't even begin to tell you how good it was. I mean, this is the era that brought so many timeless masterpieces like The Adventure Begins, Tale of the Brave, Journey Beyond Sodor, and of course the absolute GOAT, Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. Man, what a good movie. And because of the time frame, this is the era of Thomas that I grew up with. I distinctly remember going down every morning, putting in the disc into our DVD player, and watching Thomas episodes season by season. So Andrew, if by some astronomical chance that you're watching this video, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for giving me and thousands of other kids a childhood full of the right Thomas. Thomas the way that it was supposed to be done. But sadly, all good things must come to an end, which exactly happened in 2018 when Mattel did a full rebrand of the franchise and created Big World, Big Adventures. I think this speaks for itself. This specific era of Thomas is universally hated. This would all sadly, but also thankfully, end in 2021 when Mattel announced that they will be officially canceling the show. And after 37 years and 24 seasons, Thomas and Friends came to a close. And instead replaced it with all engines go. Oh my gosh, no, please get that away from me. Oh my god. Anyway, we have now arrived at the turnaround point for our journey, which is interestingly not at Lehman Place Junction, but instead is at the switch at Groff's Grove. You already know the drill, I'll just play the clips.
I can't see Thomas, just so you know. Alright.
that's left to do is let 475 pass us by and we'll be on our way back to the station.
What's that? You see that? The red boots is
Now that we have completed talking about Thomas, let us transition into talking about the history of the Thomas locomotive, which is currently pulling us.
The year is 1917. The United States has just entered the World War and is in need of tough freight switches for the war effort. And it is during this perilous time that the story of the world's only operational Thomas locomotive begins.
Specifically beginning with this guy. Wait a minute, that's not Thomas, that's Porter.
My name's Porter.
Yes, believe it or not, Thomas did not actually start out as Thomas, but actually started out as Porter number 15, an 060 saddle tank switcher built by the H.K. Porter Company of Butler, Pennsylvania in March of 1917 for use at the Mesta Machinery Steel Mill in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where it would pull all kinds of both raw and finished products all around the mill. It was at this mill where she would remain until 1935 when she was sold off to the Brooklyn East District Terminal Railroad in the Williamsburg section of Brooklyn, New York City, New York. Her tasks here included dockside switching and pulling freight trains to either load or offload ships at the dock. Quite impressively, Porter number 15 remained in service with the Brooklyn East District Terminal Railroad all the way up until 1963. She was placed into storage for 2 years until she was purchased in 1965 by the Southern Appalachian Railway running from Charleston, South Carolina to Memphis, Tennessee, where she was rebuilt and occasionally used in service. She remained there for the next 3 years until in 1968 she was purchased by the Yancey Railroad in Kona, North Carolina, where she would run on steam trips between Kona and Meekaville. Also, big shout out to Keystone 1906 Productions for providing this clip of Thomas going by with us currently riding on it. Big thanks to Keystone 1906 Productions for providing the clip, and also be sure to go check out his channel, link in the description below. Finally, in 1975, she was sold off to the Toledo, Lake Erie and Western Railway Museum, where she was placed on static display. Skipping to 1998, when Britt Allcraft received permission from the Strasburg Railroad to use number 475 as the locomotive for Shining Time for her film Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Strasburg then approached Allcraft with the idea of converting one of their steam locomotives into a working replica of Thomas for the movie. Although it was ultimately decided that a working replica of Thomas would not be needed for the film, Britt Allcraft still gave Strasburg the all-go to procure their very own replica of Thomas. And so it was. Strasburg then proceeded to purchase Porter number 15 from the Toledo, Lake Erie and Western Railway Museum and immediately began work on converting her, although much to the rail fans' outrage. You see, the railroading community was absolutely appalled when they found out Strasburg would be converting such a piece of history into some children's character. Nonetheless, Strasburg continued the conversion, and in June of 1999, Thomas finally ran out of his own steam, at long last debuting Strasburg's Day Out with Thomas. And it was an instant success. Even the rail fans came to accept this conversion. Moving to April of 2014, when Thomas was given an entire overhaul of his face and voice lines. Which honestly, thank goodness they changed his face, because the previous face was uncanny to say the least. And here we are today in 2024, 25 years later, with Day Out with Thomas more popular than ever, with the legacy of Porter number 15 still living on through Thomas. Anyway, we're just now approaching the station, so for the last part of this video, I'm just gonna let you enjoy the pure sounds of Thomas steaming down the track.
Thomas is now arriving on track number 2. For you.
All I know is that I'm gonna rush off because I gotta go see what else I can buy before it closes.
Something to note: if you decide to stand behind the steam locomotive at Strasburg, you will get completely covered head to toe in soot. I mean, look at me, I look like I've been shoveling coal inside the Titanic all day. But now it is time to go see Thomas one last time before he pulls into the shops. And with that, thank you so very much for watching. Hope you had just as much fun as I did while making this video. Hope you learned something, and if you want to see more like this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and help us reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are less than 50 subscribers away, and all it takes is for you to hit that little button down below, and we'll get to that crazy goal in no time. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me, and until the next video, goodbye.